Hey everyone, today I'm happy to announce that this video is actually sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Despite the fact that I've talked shit about mobile games to no end, Raid Shadow Legends is an exception. Raid Shadow Legends features unique gameplay, unlike no other. You can actually download the game for free using my link below. Don't worry, there's no catch. Go on.
Do it.
What? Why aren't you downloading it? Oh, you skip past this part of the video. I don't blame you.
I fucking hate this stupid game.
Obviously, this video is not actually sponsored by a subpar mobile game, nor is it sponsored by any company for that matter. Actually, maybe my Patreon could be considered my sponsor, since those of you who are able to support me on there pay me when YouTube doesn't. In that case, you should check that out, links down below. But, like most other sponsors, you will have to spend some money for me to reap the full benefits. But I don't blame you if you don't want to do that either. I mean, I cringe when I buy gas. I live in Pennsylvania. When YouTube was first created, people didn't know what to make of it. That's what I think anyway. I was only 3. By the time the site was well known, I wasn't interested in using it. I was busy trying to play Webkins on my family computer, not watching YouTube. I'm pretty sure our internet was 100 kilobits per second at that time. It was not easy trying to connect with friends in the late 2000s when you lived in the middle of nowhere. In Pennsylvania, of all states too. At that time, people were making videos for fun, experimenting with this new video sharing platform that nearly anyone could use. No one was creating videos with the intention of making a lot of money. That wasn't even possible at the time. Creators wouldn't have that option until about 2 years later, in 2007, when the YouTube Partner Program was created. The revenue from advertisements could be fickle though, and after the 2016 adpocalypse, this suddenly became very clear to every creator on the platform. By then, YouTube creators and influencers on other platforms like Instagram were making their paychecks by being individually sponsored by companies. To us today, YouTube sponsorships aren't anything new. They're just another ad that we have to see. While mildly annoying, most people don't have an issue with their favorite creator getting paid to advertise a product. But sponsorships can be much more insidious than just a part of a video that we double tap a few times to skip. I want to make it clear that in this video I'm going to talk about my own personal feelings and relationships with sponsors. My opinions may be slightly unpopular, but in sharing them, I'm no way trying to come off as morally superior. I don't think I've ever felt anything beyond that mild annoyance when a creator I like has been sponsored by a company that I don't like. I'm not coming from a place of malice, and I am in no way making this video as a means to attack any creators that I may allude to or reference. I'm making this video because I think that the relationship that YouTubers have with sponsors and in turn their audience's reactions to those sponsors is intriguing. As we continue to see more and more companies that primarily target content creators get exposed as untrustworthy, I think that the topic of YouTube sponsorships becomes ever more prevalent. Today I'm going to be covering the ethics of YouTube sponsorships in terms of the creators themselves, but also the companies that they promote. Whenever I write scripts like these, I get a little anxious. Now that's mostly my obsessive compulsive disorder telling me that everyone hates me and thinks that I'm a terrible person and therefore will take everything that I say in this video in bad faith, but maybe you get anxious sometimes too. Granted, not to the same extent, but maybe you've had a deadline for a work project that's really stressed you out. If you're like me to any extent, what you need isn't 24/7 psychiatric therapy, it's BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy service that offers all the benefits of in-person therapy, but without any of the cons, like leaving your house. If you click my link in the description, you'll get 1 month of BetterHelp for free. That's betterhelp.com/go-fuck-yourself. That's betterhelp.com/GOFUCKYOURSELF. Come on, guys, did you think that was real? No. This video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Kidding! It's not funny anymore. Sorry. Let's just get to the actual video, which is sponsored by... Okay. It was never funny. Every creator online has realized at one point that their time is limited on these platforms. Not because they have stage 4 cancer, but rather because humans have terrible attention spans. There are very few creators who have been on YouTube for a long time and are still very popular and therefore still making a lot of money. Markiplier, for example, is doing well for himself, despite the fact that he's one of the OG YouTubers and one of my OG crushes. Some creators decide to branch out and diversify, seeking jobs in more traditional media, while others remain on YouTube, forever turning out the same content to no end and fading into oblivion. When TikTok was unavailable for 14 hours, a period that's widely known as the Great American Blackout, influencers got a heavy dose of reality, that this could all be taken away at any moment. I'm not here to talk about existential crises, however. I'm just trying to make it clear that these kinds of jobs are fickle. You'll likely end up not having a steady stream of income since your ad revenue, something that you largely have no control over, can widely fluctuate from month to month. I'll use myself as an example. 1 month last year, I made a little over $3 grand. It's nothing crazy, but that amount is definitely enough for me to personally live on alone. If only it was that much every month. A few months later, my AdSense was a third of that amount, which is 1,000 if you can do simple division with whole numbers. AdSense can also widely vary depending on how much YouTube likes to bully your channel. If you talk about controversial topics more often, sorry.
What is love?
You may be looking at your videos getting demonetized and even age restricted. Add on YouTube's broken copyright system and you could be looking at losing even more ad revenue. There are many different ways that creators get paid though. Many try to diversify their content by posting on other platforms like TikTok. Definitely not going to get rich on there though. Someone like me relies on AdSense and a steady income from Patreon subscribers. Granted, my Patreon income is nothing compared to that of the likes of a ContraPoints or H-Bomber guy, but it still means a lot to get that guaranteed income every month from people directly supporting me. There is one more way that a lot of creators get paid though. Sponsorships. No fucking shit, that's what this whole video is about. I personally have never done a sponsor video and mostly prefer not to for many reasons. Although I would likely have a better and more stable stream of income if every video I posted was sponsored by a brand, I usually end up having an adverse reaction when I even think about posting a sponsored video. A lot of shit and vomit, specifically. Again, I'm not trying to come across as a moral grandstander who is better than everyone who does sponsorships. I just want to give my personal opinion on the matter. Although I am hard-pressed for money, I genuinely don't believe in taking sponsorships. Now, my views, as they often do, could very well change. In 2016, well, I was 12. Give me a break. What I'm saying is, don't go commenting on a hypothetical sponsored video I make a year from now saying that I'm a sellout. As an example, there's a skincare brand that I've been using for years, Crave Beauty. I love their products. If they reached out to me, I would seriously consider saying yes. I don't know why they would sponsor me, but who knows? People get sponsored by fucking crypto coins when they talk about YouTuber drama. I mean, now they're the YouTuber drama. Listen, I love their products and I believe in the ethics of their brand. At the same time though, I would hesitate to take the sponsorship. My integrity means a lot to me, and while I'm not here to throw stones at any creators who take sponsorships, you know, claiming that they are all sellouts and liars, I would personally feel disingenuous if I were to be sponsored by a brand, regardless of how much I trust and love their products or services. For one, I don't like the idea of being beholden to a brand, and possibly going back and forth with different versions of an ad read or an entire video just so they can put a stamp of approval on it. I already deal with that with YouTube itself. YouTube. I'm allowed to say that. Beyond that though, I do truly believe in anti-consumption, and the idea of trying to get you all to buy a new physical product at least makes me feel gross. Of course, there are many exceptions to this, and that's why this issue is by no means black and white. For example, I follow many creators who I truly believe are doing great things for the planet, but are still sometimes sponsored by brands. In those cases, they're just brands that are more ethical in that creator's judgment sense. For example, being sponsored by the brand ThredUp. It is by no means bad or evil to promote a secondhand fashion website, but at the same time, I personally would feel weird trying to get you all to spend your money on clothes so that I could make a profit. I have no way of verifying if you were to buy a bunch of shit that you didn't need just because I gave you a coupon code, nor is it my business. But it is my business to practice what I preach, and I truly believe in people buying less shit. ThredUp would never sponsor me anyway though, because they don't sell men's clothes on their website. I mean, what do they want me to do? Do I seem like the kind of person who would wear dresses and high heels? Don't answer that. Of course, it's different if it's a service. Say something like Skillshare, which sponsors a lot of people's videos. I wouldn't necessarily be trying to get you to buy something that you didn't need, a product that will have a physical impact on the planet, but I am trying to get you to spend your money regardless. Maybe something I promoted would positively benefit some of you. Say I have a coupon code for a shaving company and you've been needing new razors anyway. YouTubers, like anyone, need money to survive, so again, I don't want to project my feelings onto anyone else. I get it. When I first created a business email a few months ago, I never thought that I'd get any real sponsors to reach out to me. I also never thought that I'd receive violent hentai porn from a fallen fan with the subject line, "fuck you," but here we are. Most of my inbox is typically flooded with spam messages from scam companies saying things like, "I've been stalking your TikTok. In the non-creepy way, I swear, X." That doesn't make me feel any better. However, I did receive an email from a reputable company a few months back. It was the only reputable company to ever reach out to me. They are a personal identity theft monitor, if that tells you anything. The email was nice, and most importantly, normal. But I hesitated to reply. I personally had never used it before and really had no use for it. I'd never cared to check on my personal data privacy since my over-obsessive brain would make me spiral if I found something that I didn't want to see. Although maybe I should rethink that since Elon Musk and his Doge hooligans have been attempting to access every American's personal data for the past month now. That will be my tagline for the sponsor. Are you worried about Elon Musk and Doge? Treat me like white tees. Maybe my subscribers would have appreciated the sponsor and actually used it, which would make sense. You know, a YouTuber doesn't necessarily need to use a product themselves when choosing to promote it. But I still felt weird about it. I honestly hate this service specifically because I find its marketing to be annoying. So why the fuck would I take money from them? The most important thing to this country is money, not people. Why would I want to participate in getting you all to throw your money at even more products and services? Where you spend your money is one of the only things that you can control in this society. Yeah, we're all benefiting to a system of exploitation to some extent, but why would I want to further that? Now, I'm not saying that this brand specifically was literally exploiting people. I don't think so, but it's still the process of spending your money, stimulating the economy. You know, the people, they like that. The people at the top, they like it when you spend your money. That's what they want you to do. Cash rules everything around me. That's what Mark Zuckerberg once said. Things can change though, and I'll tell you this right now. If I was ever sponsored by a company, I would do all I could to ensure that it was one I believed in and trusted. You know, however much you can trust a company in this day and age. Even then, there is a very real possibility that I could be promoting a lie. In that case, who would the responsibility fall on? Well, obviously me, but at the same time, well, picture this. All of your favorite YouTubers are promoting a coupon browser extension. If you use their affiliate link to download it, you give that creator a monetary gain, all the while you never even have to open your wallet. Seems like a win-win. You don't even have to spend a penny. PayPal Honey, the brand that allegedly scammed half of YouTube's creators and audiences, promised exactly that. Although it never benefited me much, because that little coin fucker would always tell me that there were no discount codes no matter what website I was shopping on. I think the only fair thing to do now would be to turn him back into a normal coin, limb by limb. Vengeance aside, PayPal Honey has become an infamous name among YouTubers in a very short period of time. Honey originally was its own brand until PayPal purchased it in 2019 for $4 billion. After that, it was rebranded to PayPal Honey. How original. Founded in 2012, Honey was a free browser extension that would search for coupons whenever you went to check out from a website. For several years, it has been promoted to no end in sponsored YouTube videos. It's honestly unlikely that you never installed the extension at this point. I mean, what's the harm in a little free coupon checker? A lot, actually. On December 21st, 2024, YouTuber Megalag uploaded a 23-minute video alleging that Honey makes money by replacing creators' affiliate marketing links with its own, thus gleaning a share of affiliate revenue that would otherwise go to the creators themselves.
Maybe you're watching a Linus Tech Tips video. Linus tells you about this free browser extension that saves you money online, you install it in 2 clicks, and boom, you have Honey. Perfect timing, because it just so happens you're looking to buy a new CPU for your computer. You come across another Linus Tech Tips video, and after watching, you're convinced you should buy the one recommended in his video. So you scroll down and find Linus's affiliate link to that product. So you add the product to your cart, get to the checkout page, and hello, Honey says they found you 10 coupon codes. Sweet. You click apply discounts and Honey gets to work. But unfortunately, none of the coupon codes worked. Doesn't matter though, because as Honey has promised us for years, that means we know we've got the best deal. So you complete your purchase, you're happy, your new CPU's on the way, Linus is happy, he's getting his commission, everyone's happy, right? Well, let's quickly rewind and see what was happening behind the scenes. You see, after clicking Linus's affiliate link, you'll notice in the URL, there's a tracking tag labeled short circuit. That's a reference to one of Linus's YouTube channels. And this tracking tag is how Newegg knows who to pay a commission to. So what happened when we got to the checkout page? Well, once Honey popped up, watch what happened to Linus's affiliate cookie after we clicked apply discounts. You see that? Honey came in, removed Linus's affiliate cookie, and replaced it with their own.
As if that alone wasn't bad enough, DigiDay reported that Honey's business model relies on the practice of last-click attribution, which gives all credit for conversions such as affiliate link clicks to the final touchpoint of a consumer's journey, in this case, Honey, rather than the creator or influencer whose affiliate link introduced the consumer to the product. Honey has also made it impossible for creators to know exactly how many sales truly come from their affiliate links, damaging the metrics that creators often share with marketers who score direct brand deals. Not only has Honey been allegedly stealing millions of dollars from creators for years, but as that last sentence from DigiDay stated, their predatory tactics could also cost creators future brand deals and partnerships, something that, like I went over earlier, many creators rely on. This is the stuff that lawsuits are made of. So on December 29th, lawyer Devin Stone filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of his law firm, the Eagle Team, and multiple other creators. PayPal VP of Corporate Communications, Josh Grishko, said in an email to The Verge that Honey follows industry rules and practices, including last-click attribution. What I'm personally hearing from this is that they think that there's no issue, since they used last-click attribution to allegedly steal money from creators without their knowledge. It's an industry standard, so what's the problem here? Since Megalag's video was released, multiple other creators have filed separate lawsuits of their own, including popular gaming channel Gamer Nexus. Other creators have taken to making videos discussing their involvement with the company. The most ironic part of all of this, as others have pointed out, is that the creators and influencers who usually would be the ones to profit off of a scam were the ones who were being allegedly profited off of. One thing that is common between all the companies that I'm going to be talking about today, including the latter, is that they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on influencer sponsorships. In my opinion, this is a red flag. These companies purposefully seek out creators who have parasocial relationships with their fans. Fans who are more likely to purchase a product or service because of that relationship in order to directly support that creator. Be honest, how many times have you seen a product advertised on TV and actually bought it? I mean, when's the last time you even watched cable TV? As others have also pointed out, these kinds of sponsorships are typically much cheaper than advertising on traditional broadcast networks like CBS or NBC. This relationship with fans makes the practice of creators taking sponsorships unique and sometimes difficult. At the beginning, when I described why I don't like the idea of doing a sponsored video, I described the concept of it not aligning with my beliefs. While this is what's mostly behind my reasoning, I also don't see myself as a brand or a salesman. I see myself as a creative person who likes to share things that I at least hope are funny and informative, although many have debated whether I'm either of those things. Again, I don't want to project how I feel onto anyone else, and I want to be clear that I don't think anyone who takes sponsorship in spite of their content is suddenly fake or a greedy influencer. I just don't see myself as a person who sells others products to those who like what I make. The likely reason I feel this way is because posting videos online fosters a much more parasocial relationship than an audience would develop with a traditional celebrity. Not that I'm a celebrity by any means, traditional or not. I go out and people from high school don't even know who I am. So let's take Kim Kardashian, for example. No doubt people have weird parasocial relationships with her due to her life literally being a reality TV show. And well, because of that other thing, but no one sees Kim Kardashian as an average person. She's a brand. And while her fans and others may be upset when she posts an advertisement for starvation lollipops, it's almost expected of her because of her celebrity status. Take professional athletes as another example. Recently, I've been seeing an advertisement for DraftKings with Peyton and Eli Manning starring in it. They are likely getting paid more money than any of us could ever even imagine having for just that 15-second commercial promoting sports betting. If a YouTuber like Drew Gooden posted a video that was sponsored by a gambling app, I would guess that at least some of his fans would be disappointed. But for traditional celebrities, this is seen as just part of a job. They're brands, not people. I can't even count how many celebrities have participated in collaborations or advertisements with huge brands like Nike or other equally unethical companies. Does this mean that they're automatically terrible people? Some of them maybe. Listen, it's eat the rich. They are not your friends, obviously. But I don't think that celebs who are not Rihanna levels of rich should be completely written off as evil because of who they partner up with in advertisements. I can't even make a blanket statement claiming that Rihanna is a terrible person because I don't know her, despite the fact that she has allegedly done some terrible things. It's impossible to be rich in America without exploitation to some extent. Should we excuse these celebrities' ways of making income just because that's the way it is? Honestly, no, but I don't see mega millionaires changing their ways anytime soon. Again, I think that people are much more critical of YouTubers' choice of sponsorships because it feels more personal. They probably started making videos in their bedroom. Some of them still do, but have transitioned to other sources of income. For smaller channels, they likely rely on sponsorships to live somewhat comfortably. Maybe bigger channels rely on sponsorship money to pay their new employees that they've taken responsibility for. Others, maybe they just take the money because they can. Regardless of a person or their channel's branding, if someone is taking sponsorships from, problematic companies, they should be criticized. I don't know someone's financial situation based on views alone, since as we discussed at the beginning, these can be fickle. I will say, however, even though YouTubers are often more scrutinized by their fans than a traditional celebrity would be, they still face responsibility for who they decide to partner up with. For a huge channel who uploads consistently with views up in the multi-millions and no issues with monetization, they are likely making more than you could guess. To act like these people are starving single parents and need to take sponsorships from specific companies that are known to be seriously unethical is ridiculous. Many viewers have described sponsorships as a necessary evil in order for a creator to pay their employees or maybe just themselves. I agree, but if a YouTuber is taking sponsorships from companies who are notoriously bad, I think that should be criticized. To add on to that, if a YouTuber is taking sponsorships without even doing a lick of research as to who they're taking money from, that should also be criticized. And I swear to God, if someone comments, "There's no ethical consumption under capitalism,"
I'm going to scream.
more than I already do in my videos.
No one wants that.
Obviously, all of us take part in some form of exploitation almost every day. This is something we cannot control. That is the point of that phrase. We, especially us 99%ers, cannot control and change everything. Some of us have to work at Walmart to survive. You're not evil because that's your best option for work. I literally get paid from Google every month. I might as well prostitute myself to Marky Mark at this point, right?
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
However, we can still make an impact on the system that we live in, especially through our pockets. I'm actually kind of sick of people doing literally the worst thing that they could possibly do despite having options, and then when someone calls them out saying, "Well, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism."
I'm going to fucking lose it.
You and I both have responsibility in this world, and so do YouTubers. To me, acceptance is complacency. You can of course do whatever you want. I hold no sway over your life. But if you're using that phrase to just go and consume whatever you want, you're using it incorrectly. We should be buying less and engaging in these markets at much lower rates, not making excuses for ourselves and others. There are two different sides to a YouTuber taking a sponsorship from a bad brand: excuses and criticism. Fans may feel for their favorite creator, saying that they needed to take a sponsorship from Temu in order to pay the bills. Others may be incensed that they would lower themselves to that level. I mean, then there's the fans who don't question it at all, maybe because they accept that they need to take bad sponsorships sometimes, or just because they simply don't care. They just watch for the entertainment, not to develop a relationship with this person or persons. Now, every sponsorship is not PayPal Honey level bad. Some of them are just kind of Raycons, for example, are far from the best earbuds on the market.
They are actual small. There's little magnet dootlers that put it back. This case is just hideous though. Look, it doesn't, get that out of the way. Case doesn't open back very far. So it's actually annoying to get into, and they're actually really annoying to open because there's such a small amount to grab onto. These are ridiculously bassy, but they're just tiny little buds. So I mean, maybe just a little extra on top of the beats here. It's just such a trick to give heaps of bass, and then you make the top end like extra sparkly and it feels like it's a big sound. So basically, most instruments are very far away sounding, and it's just... So they've boosted the top end here, but this is in the cymbal territory. So you're just getting heaps of kick and hi-hat, and then everyone's like hiding around the back.
Creators still often take sponsorships from them though. Raycons, however, are the kind of sponsorship that you just kind of scrub past to continue watching the rest of the video. No one's going to cancel their favorite creator because they were sponsored by Raycons. Like I said before, there's always a decent chance that brands who primarily use influencer marketing are either subpar or worse, complete scams. Let's look at the commonly advertised VPN companies, NordVPN, Surfshark, ExpressVPN, OperaGX, and so on, who, since the beginning of 2016, have collectively sponsored about 247,000 YouTube videos, according to Daniel Kahn, co-founder of influencer marketing consulting firm Thought Leaders. In an Engadget article, the author cites findings from researchers at the University of Maryland who took a random sample of those hundreds of thousands of ads to better understand what these influencers are saying about security. The author says, summarizing their studies, that, while not explicitly inaccurate, most of the ads featured vague or exaggerated claims on what VPNs could do. It's sold as a one-step security solution, when it's really just the start of what you could do to protect yourself online. The companies and the ads are overselling what a functional one could do. Omar Akul, the PhD student at University of Maryland who led the research paper on VPN advertising, said, "It's problematic that users think they're getting protections where they really aren't." 5 years ago, YouTuber Tom Scott made a video correcting the overblown claims that are often present in many VPN sponsorships. While VPNs do have realistic applications, they're not going to fully protect you from Google or even Marky Mark's prying hands. Obviously, most of the YouTubers who are being sponsored by these companies don't have a complete understanding of digital privacy. Hey, I don't either, unfortunately. So I can't fully blame them for promoting these fear-mongering claims. They're told to read a script from the company anyway. People have long debated whether VPN companies are trustworthy, but for many, it's worth it for their main selling point, being able to watch Netflix while in Switzerland. Well, not literally, no shit. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that VPN sponsorships are meh at best, and a waste of money at worst. Unless you're doing a bunch of illegal shit on your computer like me, you don't need a VPN. Even then, the biggest companies would be unlikely to protect your crimes from being unearthed. Sponsorships can, and have been, worse though. For example, one popular sponsor, Established Titles, was called out for allegedly being a scam. Now, Established Titles is a company that marketed itself as a way for someone to become a lord or a lady by purchasing a small square of land in Scotland. 2 years ago, YouTuber Scott Schaefer made a video alleging that the company was falsely advertising their promotions, claiming that consumers didn't actually own the land that they were buying and that they did not become lords or ladies upon purchase.
The first issue is the most fundamental, and that is the fact that when you buy one of their 1 square foot plots of land in Scotland, you aren't actually buying any land at all. What they are essentially selling you is a gag gift known as a souvenir plot. Under the Scotland Law and Registration Act of 2012, it's not allowed for these small plots of land to be legally sold. So basically, the company that owns Established Titles, and I'll get into who they are in a minute, bought up a bunch of large parcels of land and is selling off phony titles to small portions of it. If you were to go to Scotland and try and claim your land, or try and do anything with it really, you would be laughed at because you don't actually own anything. Established Titles is still the landowner, and they give you a worthless piece of paper telling you that you own land when under the laws of Scotland, you clearly do not. Another big selling point they have is that if you buy a piece of land in Scotland, the custom is that you now become a lord or lady and can add that official title to your name. Sadly, this couldn't be any farther from the truth. Now, this old wives' tale has been around for a long time, and the Court of the Lord Lion, which is the highest court in Scotland in regard to giving out titles, said this to clear up the situation. Ownership of a souvenir plot of land does not bring with it the right to any description such as laird, lord, or lady.
On top of this, as Scott said in his video, the final nail in the coffin for the company will be their claim that they plant trees with every purchase. In the video, Scott alleges that the company does not actually plant trees, and instead donates to a company that actually does plant trees. It's very meta, I know.
On top of that, they have never provided any evidence that they are actually donating money to back up their claims. So basically, you have to take the company's word that they are really donating money to plant trees.
Scott told NBC following the publication of his video that, I know a lot of people have been saying, you know, everyone should know this is just a gag gift, but I did some research online and there were a lot of people who clearly believe they had legitimately bought land in Scotland through this. Legal Eagle did a great video explaining this whole situation further, so I'd recommend that you check that out if you want to know more details. Now, I don't think that most of these creators were aware that this company was allegedly false advertising. However, I do think that creators should be held responsible when it's revealed that a sponsor may have been a less than stellar company. To me, this means removing the sponsor segment from the video itself and from the video description and posting something that clarifies your stance on the matter. Now, I do understand that contracts can be hard to get out of in some situations, but in Established Titles case, NBC reported that on November 24th, the company sent its creator partners a letter saying that it was under a targeted, completely unfounded attack based on bogus claims, which said, "We will not hold it against you if you prefer to sit this one out. If you want to cancel any existing bookings or future contracts with us, we will accept all cancellations without question, but with great regret." It is obviously not a creator's fault if a company turns out to be sketchy, but it's their responsibility to acknowledge the situation and make amends. There are, however, a few companies that are so infamous that the mere idea of a creator taking a sponsorship from them in this day and age is borderline blasphemy. That's right. I'm talking about Okay, we have one more company to cover before we dive into the big kahuna. HelloFresh and by extension Factor, which was purchased by HelloFresh in 2020. Lately, I've mostly been seeing Factor ads, which is interesting because I'm not sure if it's common knowledge that HelloFresh actually owns them, but hey, I'm not saying anything. HelloFresh, if you somehow don't know by now, good for you, is a meal kit delivery service. Of course, it can't just be a good little company with its individually wrapped potatoes and cucumbers. No, it had to spoil it. See what I did there? Years ago, HelloFresh was faced with allegations of worker abuse. Following this, workers at several facilities attempted to unionize, which of course happened. The company and its employees then worked out all the kinks and gave every worker the fairest deals possible. Are you fucking stupid? Of course that didn't happen. Looks like they took a page out of Jeffrey Bezos' Little Orange Book, allegedly. At the time, The Guardian reported that at its Richmond, California facility, the Union Unite Local 2850 has filed several unfair labor practices with the National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, against HelloFresh, alleging the company has retaliated, intimidated, and bullied union-supporting workers over the last several months. One worker, Evelyn Escobar, said the union campaign was started in response to safety issues, treatment of workers by management, and working conditions. As reported by Vice, these poor conditions allegedly included pallets falling from shelves due to being unsecured, assembly lines being expected to work at a standard pace despite a worker shortage, and being set on timers for bathroom breaks. Following the introduction of a union campaign at the Richmond facility, workers alleged that management began intimidating them in order to prevent them from voting for the creation of a union. One employee, Dennis Guzman, claimed that after he attempted to hand out union leaflets, he was brought into an office room with other managers who informed him he was being demoted from quality assurance back to production. In an email to The Guardian, a spokesperson for HelloFresh said, HelloFresh believes that the decision of whether or not to be represented by a union is an important one, and we respect each employee's right to choose or refuse union membership. Despite HelloFresh's revenue hitting 7.6 billion euros in 2023, the company is still receiving many claims of bad labor practices, including poor pay and unsafe working conditions. In October, their New Neaton warehouse location allegedly axed 79 staff amid a row over toilet breaks and dismissing workers without following any sort of fair procedure. Following this, union workers from this facility held a demonstration at Regent's Park Hall in Small Heath, Birmingham. Gavin Miller, regional secretary for the Midlands at Community Union, said, HelloFresh's mass dismissal of workers who had spoken out against the dire working conditions on site is an outrage and a disgrace. The BBC reported that Jacques Vrooteman, who worked at HelloFresh for 4 years until he said he was sacked via email on Wednesday, said he and others had been forced to wait hours to go to the toilet. We don't understand why they sacked us because there was no reason to sack us, he said. The environment we worked in was very toxic and people raised their concerns and then went back to work, but the management refused and suspended everybody. In response to the workers' claims, a spokesperson for the company said that they found multiple serious breaches of employment terms during an investigation after a number of team members refused to work, resulting in dismissals. Our break policies are generous. All team members have allocated break times throughout their shifts, more than 4 times the legal requirement, it stated. Well, I for one trust giant companies like the #1 meal kit in the entire world to be honest and ethical. Apparently, YouTubers do too, since many of them are still sponsored by HelloFresh and their subsidiary Factor. It's one thing for a company to fool us all, but it's another thing to accept sponsorships without even a basic Google search, vetting the company to make sure that they don't have allegations of child migrant labor. Yep, that's right. The US Department of Labor is investigating HelloFresh over allegations that migrant children were working at its cooking and packaging facility in Illinois as recently as this summer. ABC News reported that an immigrant rights group, Immigrant Solidarity, found that at least 6 teenagers, at least some of whom migrated from Guatemala, were found working night shifts at the facility. The staffing agency Midway Staffing, which hired employees to work at the HelloFresh facility, is also being investigated. A spokesperson for HelloFresh told ABC News that, "We were deeply troubled to learn of the allegations made against a former temporary staffing agency. As soon as we learned of these allegations, we immediately terminated the relationship." I think it's concerning when fans of a creator are unwilling to accept that their favorite YouTuber could be in the wrong. I understand why some people may be willing to write off a smaller and likely poorer creator taking a sponsorship from a shady or unethical brand. Although I don't think that it should be excused, I do get why someone who is short on money would be willing to possibly devalue their morals to avoid being kicked out onto the streets. On the other hand though, there are plenty of creators who are absolutely making more in a month off of AdSense alone than the average American makes in a year. You cannot excuse them from accepting sponsorships from notoriously bad companies under the guise of "there is no ethical consumption under capitalism." These people are money hungry, plain and simple. I know. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you cannot possibly tell someone's financial situation based on what you see online alone. That's why I'm not naming people explicitly. Most of the time, a sponsorship is just that, a sponsorship. The creator makes money to survive and even to pay their employees or other expenses, and we all just skip past. There are times though when a brand is so bad that no one would ever accept their favorite creator taking a sponsorship from them. Now, there is an online therapy company that is by far the most infamous sponsorship at this point due to the many allegations against them, BetterHelp. Now, not only are YouTubers, influencers, and podcasters sponsored by this brand, but traditional media companies like the New York Times and NPR even frequently advertise the brand during their shows. In fact, according to podcast analytics from Magellan AI, BetterHelp spent an estimated $24.6 million on podcast ads in the first quarter of 2024, more than any other company in the audio space. I want to make it clear that if you have used a service before and had a good experience with it, then, well, good for you. I also don't need to hear defenders of this company telling me all about how hard it is for people in rural areas to get mental health care. Girl, I know. I have to drive 45 minutes to see a therapist who takes my insurance, okay? I get that the service is likely useful to a percentage of the population due to its accessibility and its lower cost when you compare it to how much therapists typically charge for in-person sessions. It's just like how HelloFresh is likely useful to a small subset of the population. I'm not denying this. All this being said, I don't think that this is good enough reasoning to excuse a YouTuber who has accepted a sponsorship from either of these brands. I do want to make it clear that there are instances where a creator is unfortunately able to go back on a sponsorship, as Gabby Bell highlighted in a TikTok she made about the entire therapy controversy.
Yes, YouTubers can get locked in for several years in a brand deal. I personally would advise against taking multi-year deals, but that's just me and that's for several reasons. The first reason is that you kind of get locked in at the rate that you agree on at the beginning of the contract. The second reason is a reason like this, where if the company like BetterHelp has a huge scandal, you're kind of locked in unless you have good managers and you signed a good contract that has a termination clause that allows you to exit the contract at any time. And a lot of the times they'll have a clause in there that if something like this happens, like a controversy or whatever with the company, that you're allowed to leave, you're allowed to exit. Unrelated, but a lot of the times there's also like a non-disparagement clause. So when you see controversies happen with companies and you don't see the YouTubers talking about it, that probably isn't like voluntary. A lot of the times you're not allowed to.
Again, I think that's why it's best to avoid immediately coming at a creator when they accept a shady sponsorship or a sponsorship period. We don't always know what's going on behind the scenes, and while it can be disappointing, you can only criticize them in hopes that they will accept their mistake and improve from it. What is the major issue with BetterHelp then? It just seems like a cancellation dog whistle at this point. Like trans people are for the far right on centrist podcast episodes. Well, this company's controversies date all the way back to 2017. That was 8 years ago, for those of you who are math adverse. At the time, the company's terms of service read, as Polygon reported in 2018, "We do not control the quality of the counselor services, and we do not determine whether any counselor is qualified to provide any specific service, as well as whether a counselor is categorized correctly or matched correctly to you. It is your responsibility to conduct independent verification regarding any counselor that provides you with counselor services." Some people took this to mean that the company didn't actually verify a therapist's licenses or other credentials, but the CEO at the time said in a statement to Polygon that, "We have a whole team that makes sure every provider we bring to the platform is fully licensed and in good standing. Providers who apply are required to provide proper licensure documentation, proof of identity, and references from other licensed practitioners who have worked with them. The terms and conditions document typically provides the legal S that defines the extent of liability and mitigates legal risks associated with such platforms. We will be revising the terms and conditions document so it more closely matches the vetting process we currently conduct." Basically, the CEO is saying here that their terms of service was meant to ensure that the company would not be held liable for incorrect statements made by therapists. They have indeed changed changed their terms of service with this controversy, with their current terms and conditions clearly reflecting a much better and clearer statement regarding their therapist credentials. Even then, some have argued that the company treating their therapist almost like independent contractors is dangerous. Imagine you went to an in-person therapy clinic and had a bad experience with one of the therapists there. Say they flashed you. So you decide to bring it up to one of the owners and they say, well, that's not my problem. Have you tried one of our other therapists? Despite the company's clarification to their terms of service, the bad reviews and horror stories never stop pouring in. I'll link a video down below of a therapist reacting to some of the most egregious examples of alleged patient-therapist interactions on the website, since I did actually delete my TikTok and can't find most of these videos anymore. And I feel free, baby. I feel like a newborn. You know, that song? Not only have there been troves of bad reviews for the service from consumers for literal years, but therapists have also spoken about their experience working with the company, where they were allegedly underpaid and overworked.
So I was a therapist on BetterHelp for about 3 months earlier this year. BetterHelp encourages therapists to have up to 50 clients in a week. And half the clients I would get on BetterHelp, I would be their second, third, fourth therapist, and they were like, oh my God, thank God you're showing up on time and that you're, actually present with me.
Of course, a company should not be completely written off because of a few bad experiences that customers have had, seeing that it is somewhat out of their control. But this company's controversies go far beyond an iffy terms of service statement and poor anecdotal experiences, despite how vast the latter is in number. Again, all the way back in 2018, this company was facing allegations of sharing user data. Now, I don't know about all of you, but if the contents of my therapy sessions were ever shared beyond that room... Guys, I know I make jokes all the time about being arrested or canceled, but I am being so fucking serious right now. Now, I'm being exaggeratory. The company was never accused of sharing the actual contents of customers' therapy sessions, but it was still pretty bad. Vox reported that in 2023, the FTC said that BetterHelp shared the sensitive data it collected on its users with advertisers, seemingly without their consent, or with provisions in place to limit how that data was then used. According to the regulator, the sign-up process for the company's service promised consumers that it would not use or disclose their personal health data except for limited purposes. However, the FTC alleges that the company instead used and revealed consumers' email addresses, IP addresses, and health questionnaire information to Facebook, Snapchat, Criteo, and Pinterest for advertising purposes. And I don't even fucking know what that third one is. The FTC and BetterHelp reached a settlement just last year, with the FTC ordering them to pay a fine of $7.8 million and change some of its policies and practices, including, but not limited to, stopping the share of individually identifiable information about consumers' mental health with any third parties, alerting consumers who created accounts before January 1st, 2021 that their personal info may have been used for advertising. They were also ordered to reach out to third parties that received customer information and ask that it be deleted. After the settlement, BetterHelp posted a response to the settlement on their website saying that the settlement was not an admission of wrongdoing and clarified that the company did not share the private information of its members, such as their names or clinical data from sessions with third parties. This accusation isn't even exclusive to this company though. In a report published by the Mozilla Foundation last year, they found that 19 out of the 32 mental health apps that they analyzed were allegedly lackluster at best and dangerous at worst in protecting users' data. After all of this, you'd have to wonder why so many YouTubers would still choose to partner with the brand with so many allegations, bad reviews, and a literal FTC lawsuit under their belt. Well, according to them, BetterHelp has apparently changed their ways. Some viewers, after hearing creators explain why they chose to work with the company again, have trusted their explanations on how the company has changed. Others, well, they're sick of hearing, this video is sponsored by BetterHelp. In my opinion, even if it is true that this company has evolved, which I find doubtful, but that's just my opinion, the past controversies still sting, leading viewers to almost unanimously agree that an acceptance of a sponsorship from BetterHelp is the one sponsorship that they can't skip past. I don't think anyone is immoral or a sellout because they take sponsorships. I also don't think anyone is evil for working with any of the brands that I've discussed, despite their controversies. The relationship that YouTubers have with their audiences is unique and still relatively new, much like the mid-video ad reads we now see in almost every single video we watch. Due to this, they are held to higher standards than regular celebrities are, despite the fact that they are a brand and want to make money just like any other famous individual. Creators should, however, actually vet the brands that they decide to work with. They could not only be accepting money from shady brands, but also benefiting off of their audience's trust in order to make money every time someone uses their code or link to purchase a product. But hey, if someone wants to keep making sponsored videos with PayPal, honey, be my guest. We're not losing anything by using the free extension, except for a little bit of our sanity every time that little coin pops up on our screen to tell us that he is the most useful piece of digital space ever created.
I really fucking hate that coin.
Well, that's it for me, and that's it for this video. Comment down below what you think about YouTuber sponsorships. I always appreciate hearing all of your thoughts, so comment down below anything you want to comment down below. Before the video ends, I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon members who are part of my Alpha and Delta tiers. Thank you so much to Cap the Time Lord, Olivia Schutt, Romana Żurawko, and Zelkova Salt. I really appreciate you all choosing to support me. It means a lot to me, and thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. If you want to become a patron, the link is always down below. Anyway, I really hope you all enjoyed this video, but more importantly than that, I really hope I see you in the next video. You'll be there, right? You better be there.